Hi, Kev. Good. And hello, Sage. Okay. I'm gonna leave that right in there. Ready? Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the special meeting of the City of Kingston Planning Board. The date is May 9th, 2022. We'll begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, a few housekeeping rules here. We have, if there's an emergency, we're not going to use the elevator. We're going to go down either stairway and exit the building that way. Bathrooms are to my left. I ask people to silence their cell phones at this time. And that's it, okay? There's not enough people here to have to worry about taking a conversation outside, so, you know. All right, as a note, this is not a public hearing. A public hearing will be held on May 17th, 2022. Under old business now, introductions, my name is Wayne Platt. I'm the chairman. We also have members Matt Gillis, Kevin Roach, Vince Archer, and Sage Newkirk. We also have Suzanne Cahill, who's the city planner, and Kyla D-Day is the assistant planner. Moving into old business, item number 1 is number 9-17 and 21 North Front Street, and a portion of Fair Street Extension, site plan / special permit to construct a mixed-use building with a 420-car garage, 143 apartments, 32 hotel rooms, and 8,000 square feet of retail space. Section block and lot is 48.80-1-25.100 and 26. Seeker determination, Zone C2, Mixed Use Overlay District. Kingston Development LLC is the applicant. Kingston Development LLC and City of Kingston are the owners. This meeting is live streamed, correct, Sue? We're streaming right now? Yes, we are streaming. Okay. So at this time, I want to welcome the applicants and the members of their design team and the legal team. As I said, this is not a public hearing. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to hear a presentation from their landscape architect. I want to introduce one of the developers, Mr. Brad Jordan. You want to come up and introduce your team?
I'm going to be quick. I think Scott's going to follow me, so yeah. Well, on behalf of the Kingstonian Development Team, I just want to thank everybody for being here, inviting us to come here, present tonight. Okay. Apologize for that. On behalf of the Kingstonian Development Team, I want to thank everybody for inviting us to be here tonight and be able to present the plans to you. We think we've assembled a great team of professionals that can build a project that you guys are going to be very proud of, and the residents of the city of Kingston are going to be very proud of. We've been working on this, as you all know, for quite some time. We look forward to the feedback that we get. And with that said, I'll introduce Scott Dutton, who is project architect.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. This project's been going on for close to 5 years. I've been involved with the project for the last year or so. When it first started, I was right in the middle of a major project that many of you are familiar with here in Kingston, the fuller building and didn't have the bandwidth, but now I'm happy to be part of the team. Also here tonight is Dennis Larios, who will talk about the civil aspects of the project. And we brought our landscape architect, Dan Dove, up from Virginia, who's going to walk us through the landscape plans for everyone's benefit. What we have here on the screen is a presentation that we've made publicly to the City of Kingston's Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission. Sure. Okay. Is that better? Okay. So this presentation that I'm going to take the board and the public through tonight has been presented on 2 other occasions to the Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission and the Heritage Area Commission. But I believe it's the first time that we're presenting this formally to the planning board. So this presentation was put together for those of you that have been following the project throughout its duration to highlight some of the refinements that we've made over the last year and a half. Most notably, you'll see that the refined architecture in the upper right is a full story lower than the project was when it was first presented. You'll also note that the pedestrian bridge has been shortened and relocated, which we'll see in more detail in the plans. The facade on Schwank Drive has been enhanced to create more pedestrian-friendly elements and more detail. If you look closely at the materials that we've submitted, and you can view them on, everything's available online, you can zoom in and you can see the kind of detail and scale and refinement that we've brought to the project at this point. So this is the view from Schwank Drive here. There's a parking garage entrance. You see the blue car here with 2 entrances, one to the east, one to the west. And when we get to the floor plans, you'll see how all of that flows. There's also an entrance to the parking garage, public parking garage from North Front Street. Here's a view of the project from Wall Street and North Front Street. Again, notice more detail has been added to the facade, much more variety and interest with the bay windows here. The building is more complete and complementary to the existing context in Uptown Kingston. I'm going to go to there you go. Here's a close-up view. We have street level retail, the entrance to the public parking garage, pedestrian plaza that Dan's going to talk about in detail, the hospitality element of the project off to the east there. Another view from North Front Street. You see the previous design here, the refined design, which is actually much closer in scale and detail to the historic structure that was there. There you go, close-up view. And you can see that we've modified the fenestration package for those of you that were watching the project over the last 5 years to bring it into greater harmony with the context of Uptown Kingston. Floor plans, this is the lowest level from Schwank Drive. The elements are color coded here. The green is parking. We're going to work our way up through the plans here. The elements in yellow are vertical circulation, so that's either stairs or elevators. There are multiple elevators in the project, public elevators as well as resident-only elevators. Where that condition occurs, they are side by side with one another. and residents would use a key fob or a card access, and the general public can use the elevators to get to the lower levels.
Now would be the time that we talk about the circulation through the garage, how traffic will flow from Schwank entering and then also front, and then how the traffic will come in on the parking spot and then exit out.
Certainly. Coming in from Schwank Drive, there are two entrances to the parking garage, one to the east and one to the west. So I'm going to step across the screen here. So from Schwank Drive, cars can enter this side of the parking garage. Ultimately, they connect, or residents would enter this side, and the resident parking is secured. The materials that were submitted to the planning board probably do a better job of illustrating how the parking levels all work. If you refer to those drawings, and again, all of this is on the city's website, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a axonometric view of the various levels of parking. It's key coded for you. And you'll see shaded out on those drawings the areas that are reserved for resident parking. They all connect. They use the same circulation network, but working with Walker parking consultants, they will be designing the kiosk detail with an arm to secure the resident parking spaces. So all connected, but those spaces that are reserved for the residents, they will need to do a second swipe to get into. Then maybe, Kyla, you might need to flip forward a couple of slides till we get to, here we go. Yeah. So from North Front Street at the end of Wall Street, this is where vehicles enter only. There's no exiting of the vehicles. That gets public or resident cars into the internal ramping, parking layout, and ultimately they would exit out of Schwank Drive. Does that satisfy? Yeah. Again, back to the key coding here, you'll see that these yellow elements are all vertical circulation. This darker green color here are some of the apartment units that face onto Schwank Drive. There's a new element here that was introduced close to 9 months ago, which is a pedestrian connection from the plaza on North Front Street, getting you down to Schwank Drive. And Dan Dove's going to walk us through what that looks like. If somebody were to pull off of Schwank Drive and go into the parking garage, when Dennis takes us through the civil plans, he can focus in on that area, and we can talk about those dimensions there. But if you were to enter the parking garage, you could certainly work your way through it and get out. You want to go to, okay. At North Front Street's level, we have retail here in the light blue, retail here. We have a restaurant, hospitality lobby entrance here. We have a resident amenities here in this peach color, and leasing office. Resident only pool and amenity space that Dan will walk us through. Again, the green color are apartment units. And that's right. The pedestrian link takes you along the eastern edge of the plaza to this element here, which is an elevator, a handicapped accessible elevator and stair that would get you down to street grade. On the upper floors, the reddish color here are the hospitality rooms. Green color here are apartments. Again, it's the 6th floor. And okay. In the package that's been on the city website for the last few months, you see 2-dimensional colored elevations. The plaza here. Elevation view from Schwenk Drive. These elements here are stoops that get people up into the first level of apartments on Schwenk Drive, which is a half a level up from the sidewalk elevation. It has handicapped accessibility with internal vertical circulation. But these elements here is your traditional like brownstone type of front stoop. Cross-section views through the project, North Front Street, Schwenk Drive here. Here's a view looking east, North Front Street here. You see the pedestrian bridge and the vertical elevator element there. These are 3-dimensional views that were prepared primarily for the benefit of the Landmarks Preservation Commission and the Heritage Area Commission. You start to see here the architectural detail that's more contextual to the Uptown District than the earlier iterations of the project. This is a view, if you're back, was to the Senate Garage. Close-up view looking through the plaza. Informational kiosk element here. We're still working out the particular details on.
Discuss the different types of building materials
Sure.
that are being prepared for place structures.
Okay.
With a sense of heights.
So the building that's on North Front Street to the left here, that's brick. These elements here would be a product called Extera or Boral or Hardy board, so that they can be painted. We have storefront glass on the ground level, and I should note that we did clarify for Landmarks and HAC that despite the fact that there is a reflection shown here in these illustrations, the glass would be non-reflective. That's just a function of the computer rendering software. The other elements would be hardy board, and the wooden brackets up here they're not going to be pine, they'd be a product like a hardy product, Extera or Boral, so that they don't need to be painted every 3 years and they'll last over time. But these are painted elements. Same is true for the building on the east side. We have asphalt shingles on the hospitality element. And then of course, the regular commercial flat roofing that is not visible from the street on the structure. Dan is going to walk us through the materials proposed for the plaza. Another internal view. This was requested by the Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission to present for the public and their board what the interior facades look like, and to illustrate and demonstrate the amount of detail and variety and depth in these buildings. You can see here that there are elements that pop off the main facade so that it's not, as it appears in a two-dimensional elevation, a flat facade. There are a lot of opportunities for the sun to create shadows and interest in these interior facades. Dennis. Okay. We showed this. This view was specifically requested by the Landmarks Preservation Commission, as was that one. Okay. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dennis Larios, unless there are questions about architecture.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, planning board members. I'm Dennis Larios from Bernier and Larios Engineers in Kingston, working on the site civil engineering elements, services to the building. As you know, this site is 95% building and pedestrian plaza, so a lot of my work is around the periphery of the site. This is just a cover sheet of the site plan submission package that was filed with the planning board on March 30th. And it just identifies the design team members and all the drawings that are in the application package or the revised application and available on the city website. Existing conditions. The former city parking garage, which before that was the Montgomery Ward's building, is on the western side of Fair Street Extension, and that represents about 1.4 acres of land. Fair Street Extension itself, which from North Front Street to Schwenk Drive, is 3/10 of an acre. And then the Herzog properties, which are the old Herzog warehouse and the Uptown Grill site, are 8/10 of an acre. So the project site is essentially 2.5 acres of land situated between North Front Street and Schwenk Drive. Next drawing. This just represents the removals, everything that has to be removed from the site before at the beginning of construction. Storm sewer lines for the existing parking lot and the buildings themselves, and retaining walls, et cetera. So that is all outlined and detailed on the removals plan. So you can see the West Campus building and the East Campus building. And for information purposes, about 98 of the apartments will be on the west, in the West Campus, and 45 apartments will be on the East Campus. This is your entrance that Scott was referring to into the garage, either to the west side or the east side of the garage. This will be a service entrance for deliveries to the building and for refuse collection, which will occur here and here. Refuse will be stored in the garage space in compactors and rolled out at delivery time, including recyclables, which will be also collected and rolled out at delivery time. A lot of the utility work, and I'm sorry, these drawings, these particular digital copies didn't come out so well on this thumb drive, but these highlight the work we're doing in Schwenk Drive and in North Front Street. The main water line service, both fire and domestic, will be separate services off the city's 16-inch main line in North Front Street. And they will be underground in the first half of the pedestrian plaza. Then they will go down into a mechanical room that's part of the garage system, where there'll be a booster system for the domestic water and for the fire suppression system. Sanitary sewer, as we outlined in the July 2019 report, we try to get us about half the flow out to the gravity system in North Front. So we're showing sanitary sewer connections out to the North Front Street sanitary sewer for essentially the south half of the building, and the north half will be going out in 2 locations to the Schwenk Drive sanitary sewer system. Stormwater is all being collected and run through water quality treatment units before connecting to the Schwenk Drive storm system. Here, we're going to have a small rain garden for this area to collect and treat this stormwater from this entrance drive and ramp, delivery ramp. We're also relocating a storm line in North Front Street to divert storm flow that currently runs through the project site, and we're diverting that over to down North Front Street to a storm manhole on Wall Street and North Front. Yes. No, that's going to be capped off. It's being, yes. Right, we met with the water superintendent, well, several times, but she did not want a water line running through there. Water flow tests were run on the hydrants with and without that line open, and the results were the same, which indicates it's an old line that's heavily tuberculated. So what she did ask for were some improvements out on North Front Street, which we incorporated into the plans. Next slide. And this is just a detail of that work out in North Front Street, along with profiles of the storm sewer work and more detail of the water line work we're doing out in North Front Street. Same thing here. You can see the new location of the pedestrian bridge and elevator tower and stair tower. And that's shortened from the prior site plan in a much nicer location. And pedestrians, again, can come down the grand stairway to grade level, or they can use the pedestrian bridge to cross over Schwenk Drive. And the utility work needed in Schwenk Drive to support the project is all shown on this drawing along with profiles. Gas and electric is being coordinated now with the mechanical design team in Central Hudson. We've been meeting in Scott's office, and they are working on that.
Yeah, they're actually Hudson said they probably wouldn't take it from Frog Alley. They would take it from Hurley Avenue, but they're obviously very interested in serving the project and working with the developers. So much so that they brought, was it 4 guys from Central Hudson? We did a charrette meeting in our office with the mechanical engineers, civil, and but for the most part, they're looking to come off of Schwenk Drive.
This plan just shows the grading that's going to occur in these areas. And the grading plan for the pedestrian plaza is part of the landscape architect scope, which he will review. But essentially, the only grading on the project is in these two locations of significance, and that's where we have to create delivery lanes so that deliveries aren't made out in the street like the majority of uptown.
I should have touched on this, but I think it's worth pointing out. I think it's worth pointing out how we've thought through resident move in and move out and refuse. So to Dennis's point that those activities aren't happening on the public street. So there are a couple of trash chutes and compactors in each building that bring the trash down. There's also, with this easement here, the opportunity to create a resident move in and move out location so that moving trucks aren't queuing up in the street. Residents can conveniently back up there. There's a room, there's a lift to take their belongings up to their apartment.
So the retail uses that are going to be on North Front and around maybe the first portion of that plaza, of a plaza, are they going to have the ability for loading and unloading those,
Right here.
that they will have that?
Yeah.
So there's going to be ability for them to use the
Correct. So this will end up being a restaurant as part of the hospitality component. It's very intentionally being designed so that all of those elements that go along with the restaurant can be accommodated and this can be efficient. So specifically what happens here is that deliveries come in up and you can see grade moving up so that deliveries are made. There's a service elevator in here. And then the restaurant can use this for refuse to come out and goes down here for pickup. So, I mean, unlike most of the restaurants in Uptown Kingston where everything comes in the front door, we're looking to not have that be the case here.
Scott said there'll be a refuse collection area here as well, but that was a very important element that got added fairly recently in the plans is a delivery for people moving in and out that's convenient to a freight elevator with a storage room in the garage so that people can.
was that the retail of this project will have the ability to use those services for if they're referenced to that area. So they're not going to be
Absolutely.
going out to school or something happening in your front. They're going to be able to use that back door.
Absolutely. And that's the intent, is to do all that internally with 2 points of collection off the street. This is just an enlarged view of the East Campus where existing conditions proposed. And this is the one area where we are doing some significant grading and a retaining wall to create this delivery ramp to the East Campus that can also be accessed from the West Campus and this refuse collection area here. So there is some grading and a retaining wall here and a small knee wall around this platform, along with the rain garden. Wayne's question earlier about if you enter the garage but realize you made a mistake, I believe that's going to work. You're going to circle through the garage to the exit, and you won't get charged if you didn't stay there, over a certain time period. I believe that's how that will work. Okay, so I'll now introduce Dan Dove from Studio 39, who's done a lot of work on making this an attractive site, and we'll let him take over.
Is this good? I'm pretty loud. I think I'm louder than Scott. But, my name is Dan Dove again. I'm with Studio 39. I appreciate you guys having me out here. It's nice to finally meet you. It's good to actually, I've been to the site a few times now, and it just keeps getting better every time I visit. So I was actually able to spend some time there today, which was nice. So see, I was trying, sorry. This is the only part I'm going to read, but I just want to make sure that, so right now we have the overall site that Scott went through. Pedestrian bridge here, the plaza, the public plaza here, the private courtyard amenity pool area on this side, and then the pet park amenity on this side on Schwank. You can go to the next slide. Oh, man. I hope not. I have hard copies. Can you bring the hard copies out?
I do have the, oh, is that, okay.
Yep, that's it. You just skip through the next.
You're welcome. Yeah, all right, skip to,
So that's the overall we just went through. You can
Okay.
skip to the next one. Okay, good. So this is just the enlargement of the pedestrian plaza area that we had talked about earlier. I just wanted to go over 3 goals that we were trying to accomplish when we were designing this area. Was to complement the vibrancy and charm of the existing uptown Kingston area, just to provide a simplistic design that was tasteful and inviting, also as a functional space for events. Provide a viable community space for retail, recreation, and events for all of its residents and visitors, and then provide the pedestrian thoroughfare that connects Front Street to the Kingston Plaza across Schwank Drive. So there's some elements I'll talk about Front Street first. What's going on right now? There's 2 separate areas right now that we've designed in this section. There's the retail section that's in this area on both sides here, and then this is a pedestrian thoroughfare that actually kind of ramps up into the heart of the plaza. What that does with this elevation change, it kind of allows you to kind of provide, it sort of divides the 2 spaces so that you have this larger retail cafe zone on both sides, and then a pedestrian area in here. And then what happens with the topography changes is we've added some sort of amphitheater seating on both sides, kind of provide some different variety of seating instead of just tables, chairs, umbrellas. They have some people who have the ability to sit on these sort of benches that are provided along the pedestrian thoroughfare. The raised planters with we're providing river birch. We're proposing river birch in this area just because typically when we do retail, the way the tree grows, it has a little less foliage on it, and so there's a little bit more transparency to the building signage. So these raised planters will have these river birch in it, but those will also, on the lower side of the ramp, they'll be able to sit on the planter walls as well. So it just kind of provides different areas, different sort of spots for people to sit and congregate. We have overhead catenary lighting over top that just kind of helps define the space. It really provides this as like your main inviting area to come into the space. We proposed, one of the challenges that we had provided, we sort of coming up with, was how to get people to, if they're coming along North Front Street from the east or the south here, how would they come into the space? So we were proposing just sort of some movement flow of just in the paving design itself, just to kind of create a little bit more of an inviting kind of movement space into the upper plaza area. And we have sections I can show you through both of these areas. When you get to the top, this is less than 5% ramp, so we don't need handrails or anything like that. And it provides an accessible access from Front Street up to the plaza area. When you get, yes, ma'am. Sorry, I thought I was doing pretty good. Sorry. So when you get to the top, is that better? When you get to the top of the ramp, we're providing some bollards. It just helps to delineate the areas where the ramps ends. You've kind of entered into the heart of the plaza. This also area acted as the fire access. We were required to have at least 100 feet from Front Street up into the plaza area. So this is all accessible through for a fire truck, but it's also the pedestrian area. And then this is sort of the heart of the area of the plaza itself. Where this large green area is, we're proposing a synthetic turf with some movable furniture, and you can kind of see that we're trying to carry those bands and that sort of movement in from the street to kind of help bring people up into the space. Movable furniture. You could have events for cornhole or activities, things like that. There's an event stage here, covered pergola, bandstands. We were thinking it could be for arts fairs or farmers markets or small concerts or things like that within the plaza itself, just to help bring people back into this space. We provided this grove over here just to kind of offset this, to just kind of give it a little bit more of a balance into the space. It also provides a lot more shade. If this is being used, this gives you some shade seating. For if people are listening to the music on this side. These three pieces here that kind of follow this curve are fire features. What we were trying to do was come up with something a little bit more decorative with the screening element on top of it, so that when they're not being used, it would allow just sort of a focal piece, decorative element that within the plaza. Let me move over here. So we're getting down into this area over here towards Schwank Drive. There's roughly about 28 feet of grade change. So we have we proposed this grand staircase, but to help soften that, we've proposed these sort of terraced planters that are going on in the center of it, and it just kind of helps to soften that sort of the amount of hardscape and stairs that you've got in that area. We are proposing a bike runnel. With this being 28 feet of grade change, Kingston is I've heard is a pretty big biking area. It'd be nice to have something that they could just move just right up the side of the push their bike up the side of the stairs. And we have an image of it. It's a little blurry, but that's what you're going on there. This area right here, this level. This is an elevator here. This is the level that we would be coming in on to access the pedestrian bridge to connect across Schwank. There's an elevator that gets you down to that area if you need that elevator access, or if you just come up to that level, you would access the pedestrian bridge from that zone. Just some supportive imagery of what we were thinking about. Just the movable furniture, the activities in that lawn area, the overhead catenary lighting, the fire feature, the pergola, and just sort of the decorative paving that we're thinking about with the bands. You can go to the next slide. So this was the section that I was talking about. This is the upper plaza area here, and this is Front Street down here. This is the public zone and through this area, and then this is roughly where the ramp would start. It's roughly about 3 feet of grade change there. But what we're trying to show is just how the overhead lighting works, and then you can kind of see this recessed areas behind. I've got other pictures that show what we're thinking about with that amphitheater seating, but it's roughly about 76, 78 feet of ramp. You can go to the next slide. This is a section cutting through that ramp area. So the retail on this side, retail on this side. This is the actual pedestrian thoroughfare. And I'm just trying to show like how that topography works in between this area down to this area. So what's kind of nice about this transition of grade is that you're able to have these sort of decorative, these amphitheater seats or different types of seating along the retail, or that, if somebody just wants to come and have a sandwich, they could sit out here. Well, honestly, you would probably have to have some sort of skate stop on the bench parts of the amphitheater. And honestly, I'll show you pictures that we have where we've done, it's a good, well, we've got amphitheater seats we've done in Valley Forge, and they've like little just skate stop pieces that they put on the end of the concerts. No, I totally agree with you. It's tough. We would have to have something on those planters too. But yes, we would take that into consideration. Just the catenary lights. We made sure that this worked. It was more than 14 feet for fire access, so it's clear. You can go to the next slide. So just to kind of give just a really basic sketch of what we're thinking about, just to kind of show the area where the ramp area is down to the retail zone, and just how we can create sort of different seating elements within that plaza. We're thinking, people could sit on these planter walls as well. Go to the next slide. This is just some basic plant material that we're using. We're proposing on the project. Like I said, the river birch kind of gives you a little bit. This is pretty thick growth, this image, but there's a lot of different trees. But this gives you the foliage. It's a very thin foliage, so it doesn't block the retail. I didn't mention this on the other area, but on the terraced portion of the stairs that go down to Schwenk, we were proposing more of a fastigiate carpinus that would, so that it doesn't create too much of a canopy on going over top of where the stairs are. It just gives you a little bit of a shade element. Just the more upright evergreens, different types of grasses. Everything's native around this area. The boxwood isn't, but I looked at the zones 5B here, and I think you got that it survives in that zone. But they give you a lot more of the vertical sort of hedge screening that I like to use in some areas. Yes, sir. So the river birch will handle the plant material, will handle those planters. The boxwoods and everything like that we're proposing are more on the periphery, on grade. But things that, these will survive well in raised planters. This is native and drought tolerant grass. And that's really what we're doing, is just a simplistic design of low level grass with the river birch in the plaza. You can go to the next slide. Just some more imagery of what we are talking about. This is the amphitheater seating I was talking about. And you can see like those are the skating elements that we put like on them. I mean, I don't know if they're not the greatest aesthetic, but they do work. Yeah, I mean, the problem here was sometimes they go on top. But anyway, so what we were talking about, this is just an example of like the river birch in front of retail, and you can kind of see a little bit more of the transparency between the foliage. Just different types of grasses we had proposed, the pennisetum and then the coreopsis, just kind of that blend of different shapes and textures. This is a decorative fire element that we have done in Maryland. It didn't have to look like this, but it's just to kind of give you guys an idea of like a sculptural piece that kind of covers up the fireplace, provides safety for children and things, but it also gives you something when the fire pit's not being used. It gives you like a focal piece. The amphitheater seating that we were proposing, and then this is just to show the carpinus, just that fastigiate sort of tree that I was trying to show you down on the terrace stairs. You can go to the next slide. This is just I'll go quickly through this, but this is the public pool amenity. Right here is our interior club room, and so we would have access out into this portion here. We're proposing a 6-foot rail that goes along this piece here, just to help make sure nobody comes through out from this area into this. The pool's used. It's not a public pool. This is private amenity. Yeah, sorry. Thank you for clarifying. When the pool's not being used, in these courtyards, sometimes what we've done, they're used till 7 o'clock at night. They're used 2-3 months a year. What we try to do is kind of separate these areas so that you can use this area for the full year. Just a different lawn area, different like in the plaza, we're just a different multi-purpose space for people to recreate down here. We'd have like a bar and grill, outdoor tables, kitchens, fireplaces, grilling areas, that sort of thing in this zone. But one thing I just wanted to point out that we would try and separate these areas. And no, ma'am, it is. This would be artificial. This would be an artificial turf. It's just to get lawn equipment in here. It's more difficult. And honestly, in the plaza area, I would recommend that just because of maintenance and foot traffic and things like that. You can go to the next slide. I mean, these are just different pictures and elements that we've proposed on other projects. This is our other private amenity. It's our pet park. This would just be sort of a pet run along in this area. There'd be a 5-foot fence around this whole zone so that the dogs would stay kind of in that area. These are private patios, and then so we wanted to have just sort of a screening element that kind of helped buffer that area there, and that would be an artificial turf as well. And what we've done on other projects is irrigate it so to keep the smells down. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I didn't. There's an entrance in here from the stair. These are elevators, right? And then you come in through here. There's another area that comes off the stairwell over down in this area. You can go to the next slide. This is just a grading plan, actually. We can talk about topography or anything like that, but I just left that in if we wanted to discuss specifics. Exterior landscaping was mainly just to help like provide like a streetscape element look on Schwank. If you could go back to the overall, it's like one of the second slide on here, sorry. One more. So what we tried to do is just provide like a streetscape element along Schwank, just providing some different types of trees along in here. A hierarchy, we usually have like a taller evergreen shrub and then just, mix of smaller shrubs or ornamental grasses or perennials along the building facade to help just kind of soften the building facade. This area right here is actually, 30 feet lower than the pool deck amenity. So we have, just some shade tolerant ornamental trees, some different plants and shrubs in through here. Different screening elements. We wanted to help kind of screen the parking lot. So we added some more like the fastigiate evergreens that I was showing you in those other images. Just some buffer plantings in through here. We really wanted to try and help screen some of this wall and, the trash pickup area and stuff like that in there. So it's really just different types of plants, different hierarchy of stuff. And, I got all these. Scott was nice enough to give me the Kingston, it was the Henry Street project tree list. So all the trees that we're proposing are everything that's off of that list. That is it. Sorry. Yes, sir. Roundabout.
There's more of a civil developer question than a landscape architect question. Right, but Dennis, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we've had several meetings with the city group that's planning the Schwank Drive improvements, including their consulting engineering firm they hired for that project. And we've shared our drawings and they've shared their ideas, which are mostly concept plans at this point, which involve, as you said, Frog Alley intersection, which is a safety concern because of the movements there and how the project would essentially terminate at the Kingston Plaza entrance. All I can say is those plans are still fluid on the city side. We've given them these drawings so they can plan around, but we don't see major changes at this intersection. They are proposing, or one of their plans proposes removing one travel lane, but I think that's further up. Okay. Correct. Now, right now we're designed to keep the sidewalk where it is and build back on our property and repair or replace the sidewalk as necessary there and make any revisions that come out of their final plan. But I would say that they don't have a final plan yet.
Are you referring to when I was talking about the resident load in, load out area?
No.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that because that is off of Schwank Drive. That's an easement that's on the south side of the existing sidewalk.
And that's not
Yeah, the plan to have parallel parking on Schwenk. Um, But the concept of parallel parking on Schwenk, the last meeting we were at, they agreed that that wasn't a good idea. And the bike lane that they're talking about will be over here on the other side of Schwenk. Originally, yeah. And, you know, where you have a 10-foot sidewalk, most of that route, except it narrows down here, but there's enough right of way for their bike lane to be on the opposite side of Schwenk. But good question, and we will continue to coordinate with them. I think they reduced some of their options, throughout some of their options, but they're still looking at what their final option is going to be, and I think they were waiting for our project to develop to this point as well. Yes. I would say there are some street trees there now that we would try to save and then and add some additional street trees. Yeah, we're planning that they probably will need to be replaced, along with a portion of that sidewalk, if not all of it. On this upper Schwenk, you know, the sidewalks on the opposite side of the street and the street trees are largely on the opposite side of the street. But we are going to add street trees so you have nice trees on both sides of the street. As you go up that street now, you're looking at the old Elena's Uptown Grill parking lot. It's just open blacktop with no screening. So.
The entrance to the plaza.
Here's the driveway entrance and exit. As you know, there's 3 exit lanes and 2 entrance lanes there. We're proposing for the light coming down to attach it to the bridge, to attach the light to the bridge that currently hang on an arm. So it'd be more attractive and you wouldn't have a conflict with a traffic arm. That traffic plan for Schwenk is also going to look at whether the existing signal is fine or it needs to be reprogrammed or removed. As you can see, the city is removing a lot of signals throughout the city, and it's kind of nice, in my opinion. And I'm not sure one is necessary here, but that's really going to be up to them. That was addressed in the traffic study that the applicant prepared and also the city consultant reviewed.
Sure. Sure, that's me. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, so in the site plan submission, we actually have the pavers and everything called out, but we would keep it the standard streetscape, you know, along the front here on the blue stone with the brick. And then we would pick, this is more of a concrete paver. It's maybe like a 24 by 36 or 12 by 18 piece along in this area. One thing I'll point out is that this line right where the bollards are and right at the end of the fire lane, this is all on grade. And then everything from here over would be on top of garage. So it would be, we're proposing like pedestal pavers and things like that in here. So we're sort of, I'm sorry, I'm probably talking too fast too. In this area right here, from this line over would be proposed pedestal system on pavers. So we'd be we're stuck with sort of a concrete paver. We're thinking more like we would do maybe like a 12 by 36-inch plank in this just to help delineate this area here from this. But these are probably around the same sort of pavers, concrete pavers here and there. But we would keep the same standard streetscape along the north front. That's pretty much, yeah, that's about right. Yes. There's no other, I don't think there's any other paving that I'm missing. No, that's it. Sorry. It'd be a concrete, poured concrete. Yes, ma'am.
Walls, it's like going down from the attempted garage to staircase, so the side walls are gonna be a decorative block of where the
These walls here.
staircase is side wall.
Yes, ma'am. I can't remember if we proposed a veneered stone, but I think a lot of these planters, I think we were using a structural brick. It's a CMU shape, but it's actually a clay product. So it gives you that brick, appearance on the outside. But it would be a veneer of some sort. It wouldn't be cladded with stone or anything like that. It's just, it gives you a clay facade. I would assume that we could do irrigation. A lot of these things, a lot of the plants that we're proposing, I mean, everything in these planters right here is, prairie dropseed and river birch, and those are fairly pretty hardy around here. I would think, most of the projects I've worked on with the developers, they've irrigated. But I don't know if we know that yet. Yes, ma'am. So this is the top of the ramp. This is the bottom of the ramp, and it's less than. Yes, yes. It was we had to raise. I'm sorry. The garage. You're going to see it. It'll be higher. It's actually, I think it's nicer because it's a little bit more prominent. These are two set of stairs here. This is a set of stairs here and a set of stairs here. So it gives you more fluidity throughout the site.
So the architectural term for that is a plinth. And it's something that we do whenever we have the opportunity to do it, is you elevate that space just enough so that it feels special. And I think calling it a ramp is a little bit of a misnomer. It's an accessible route, which the grade of it, I can assure you that there are most of the sidewalks in the city of Kingston are steeper than that. So it's a gentle rise that creates that public plaza. It makes it feel like more of a special place, a destination, a stage.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, there is. So we have an image. This is a bike runnel, and it basically occurs on this side of the grand staircase. So it's a runnel. Okay, good. Bridge. Okay. He wanted me to point out that for bikes, you could use the pedestrian bridge and the elevator system as well if you needed to get your bike up the hill. But this just gives you another option. I have not, we haven't actually put those in yet, but I mean, that's definitely something we could add in various locations. I mean, these zones and stuff provide for, ample space for bike parking. I have not located them though. Absolutely. Yeah, we can do that. Yes, ma'am.
So there's going to be a separate room for storage area where residents will be allowed to store their bikes. Good.
Yeah, and that was stated publicly and in writing. The developers have made that commitment. That was stated publicly and in writing by the developer that the goals that they would reach for. A silver certification, right? Yeah, well, it's essentially all of this exists on top of the parking deck. So the pedestal pavers allow the water to drain through and hit a waterproof membrane deck and are collected. And then Dennis is collecting all of that stormwater, conveying it down, treating it out on Schwank Drive before it enters the municipal system.
So I think what you're saying, we have the Midtown linear path, which starts down by the baseball field in the plaza and runs down through Midtown. And then the trail itself, the sidewalk picks up, which is what they're planning, where the bike trail picks up at the main entrance of the plaza, which would be the Schwank Drive side. So the only missing piece is the plaza itself along the rail trail. So what we had brought up, which is not really a Kingstonian thing, more of a Kingston Plaza thing, and I talked to Sue about it, is connecting that in the plaza with a bike lane in the plaza. So then you would be able to connect the Midtown linear path all the way out to Hurley Avenue and beyond. And we also we have two bike racks that we put in the center already, and we're going to add a couple more as well. Kind of play up that trail too. We look at the trail as a big tourist thing and a quality of life thing. The whole project, I think if you've seen a lot of these enhancements, including the walk-ups down on Schwank, is that walkability, which is one of the things that we were asked to promote walkability, pedestrian safety, and I think we've tried to address it. So. Yeah, so does anybody have any other questions for anyone? Again, thank you very much. Yeah, so we have a public hearing coming up.
We're done with the presentation. I was going to take this anyway. Yeah. All right, I want to thank the developers and their team for coming here tonight to discuss the landscaping plan and other elements of the plan. We are going to have a public hearing scheduled for May 17th, 2022. That's next week. So at this time, I'll make a motion to, any questions from the, yeah, yes. Well, we're looking for, we're still meeting after the 17th. We're still looking to do special meetings for this project, not to include that in the regular meetings, or what are we? Okay. I know Brad had a question about that earlier with me. All right, so right now, we're just, the developers are looking to when the next scheduled meeting would be after the public hearing. That's his question. So you're going to be working on that. I mean, we're not going to have an answer tonight, right, Sue, for that, or you're going to? Okay, so, yeah, Brad, you can discuss that at staff level, or Mike, or to get that going. So I hope that answers your question then. At the June meeting you're talking about, whether it's a special June meeting or at the regular meeting, with the. And if the need arises, if we've always had special meetings in between meetings, we can certainly entertain that and that's something you can talk with Sue about. Okay. Any other questions from board members? Okay. So at this time, I'll make a motion that we table item number 1. Do I have a second? Second by Kevin Roach. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you, folks. Okay, I have a motion. I'm making a motion to adjourn. Have a second? Second by Matt Gillis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right, thank you.